Hi everyone, this is Sunette and I'm here in this video more specifically for those who have been walking the destiny process for quite some time, or for those of you who have been introduced to the self-forgiveness process. And I'd like to use the opportunity within this video to once and for all clarify your process and experience, and so your relationship when it comes to self-forgiveness. Because there have been quite a few throughout the years that I've been portaling and walking with destiny, and especially the self-forgiveness process, where many individuals kind of walk their process into the, let's call it subconscious or even just the unconscious mind, not even getting into the quantum mind, the quantum physical, the physical mind, your beingness programming process, living words, our sound process. So many levels and steps or dimensions of our overall mind process that we've got to understand and walk through together with self-forgiveness, to understand and also create that difference between who or what is my mind and who or what is my real potential, my beingness, my awareness. Where many individuals, something just clicks in their brain like a switch, and then it's like this, let's call it a signal that goes off with flashing lights. Your process is finished. You don't have to do self-forgiveness anymore. You are completely done. You have transcended the mind. And then, individuals stating that I don't have to do self-forgiveness anymore. I am done with self-forgiveness. I am done with my process. When, for me personally, I still, to this day, do self-forgiveness. I use self-forgiveness every single day. And it's interesting because individuals who make the statement of I don't have to do self-forgiveness anymore, my process is done, is essentially using self-forgiveness as the reference of or for a process being complete, when all the while what self-forgiveness is, to give you a visual illustration, is imagine you see the word self-forgiveness in front of you. Okay, now self-forgiveness is and will always be a part of your process in this life and also in the next. I mean, if I'm looking at where we are within this process right now and just using EQOF as a reference, is we're still in the process of understanding the mind, consciousness, and its relationship to our beingness, our physical bodies. And that in itself is quite a massive, intricate, complex process. And from there, we've still got a process to walk of redefining our being, our awareness, who it is that we are in thought, word, and deed, which is a whole creation process to come. And even in that process, we may still find that we're facing programming or parts of our minds and our consciousness on levels that we could not conceive it could possibly exist. So if there's one thing, I will never give up. Even if, let's call it to the ultimate degree that we do get to a point of, transcending our minds, consciousness itself, and become living beings from our physical life experience, that I'd always want self-forgiveness to be a part of me, a part of myself, no matter where I am in my process. So to understand here is that self-forgiveness is not a reference for where you're at in your process, not at all. Your process meaning your process through the conscious, subconscious, unconscious, quantum mind, quantum physical, physical mind, beingness programming. From there, your process through living words, creating your being, living yourself, what it means to live. Self-forgiveness is a part of you. It becomes a part of you as an anchor. This is what it's been for me. That's why I'm saying it's like a part of you. It becomes like an anchor that, self-forgiveness was the one thing that assisted and supported me from the beginning of my process to understanding the difference between consciousness and awareness, my mind and my being, my real self. And yes, even to this day, in my process in this life and the year after when I'm portaling, there are sometimes moments where I'm picking up shifts or changes and things like that. I mean, yes, I am at a point within my process where I can recognize and detect and see certain things when it comes to the difference between the mind and self, but I'll always still go back to using self-forgiveness. Because an interesting thing that I found is we so easily in our minds go to an ego of, look how far I have come. Look how far I have progressed within my process. I do not need self-forgiveness anymore. I do not have to use it anymore, you know. And it's interesting because you can so easily go into that state of mind. I mean, I could have also very easily, but thank goodness for my relationship with self-forgiveness, because it's always kept me humble. Humble in the way of I'm always open to learn and expand myself even more. I have been humbled in a way of never placing myself in a point or a position where I'm like, oh, I'm this anointed goddess who has got all this knowledge and information of the mind through the portaling, and I am done with my process. No. If anything, the position that I've taken in is one of gratefulness and humbleness within myself. Of, yes, I've been exposed to more than any other human on this earth when it comes to the physical realm and the interdimensional year after heavenly realms. And even with all that knowledge and information, all the processes that I've walked and I've been through, I still to this day am learning more and more and more as I, together with all the beings that I'm portaling, are venturing deeper and deeper into understanding the mind, consciousness, the physical, ourselves. You know, there has not, as of yet, been like an end point, a finish point. I mean, I've never said that I'm done with my process, because that in itself is an absolute limitation. I would in a way never want to say that, because you learn so much more every single day, not only from yourself, but from other people. And there's still so much more to come through EQUAF and the portaling when we get into the series of the quantum mind, the quantum physical, the beingness programming, physical programming, to understanding the DNA programming. I mean, there is a whole lot to come. Yes, with that whole lot more, there are processes to walk, of course, but I mean, in the way that we're walking this process now, it's not only about walking through the mind, you know, it's also about equally creating yourself. And yes, I may be further in my process than most, but even within that, being further, I'm always still learning, expanding, changing, progressing, evolving. And it is actually a sad thing for those who go into the state or the extent of saying, I'm done with self-forgiveness. I am done with my process. Because to translate that, it's not so much that they're saying that they're done with self-forgiveness or that they're done with their process. It is actually more a statement of, till here I am going and I'm not going any further or deeper into myself or my mind or my being or my body. I've got my comfort zone on this very safe level where I feel empowered or secure or in control. And thus such individuals will forevermore limit themselves in understanding so much more about their own existence, everyone else and everything else. All of this directed to, let's call it the end goal, where we can understand ourselves and each other in such a way that we can create a better self, better relationships, better life experiences on an individual level as well as a global level. All right, so this is me, heart to heart, sharing my relationship and process with self-forgiveness. That seeing self-forgiveness in front of you, you know, the words, realize from beginning of your process to, let's call it the end, but it's actually always a new beginning. You know, yes, sometimes you get to an end of a particular process, like your subconscious mind, but then it's the beginning of a new one. For yes, literally, there's been these moments in process where you think you're at the end, but just as you're in an end, a new beginning comes again. And so, to a certain extent, is there ever really such a thing as a beginning or an end? Or a continuation, an expansion, a process of growing and learning through this process? This is something I'll continue with in videos to come. The concept of beginning and end, and why, actually, to a certain extent or degree, it doesn't in fact exist. All right, we'll continue more in videos to come. Thank you very much.